So hello everyone, it is me, Demetra K, and I'm sitting here with Donovan Yule Brenner Sadiq, and this is our edition. This is our edition of Free Flow Friday, where we talk about a whole host of topics and conversations. And so we're gonna wait for you guys to come on in. And I just like to say to YouTube, thank you so much for tuning in. And if you haven't already, please like and subscribe to this channel for more insightful commentary. As I said, we're going to wait for about a minute or so for a few people to come in before we get started. And so I'll just give you guys a coronavirus report, right, until we do that. So we're in California. We're still under our lockdown. Well, stay-at-home order, if you will. They've relaxed some things. From what I understand, so in some areas of the nation, they're going to open up beaches for Memorial Day. I guess they probably figure they can't keep people away, right? And so here in California,
might as well make some money.
Okay, and they've even opened up drive-ins out here. I think they're going to open tonight. Drive-ins. Of course, there are going to be some social distancing rules or whatever. So good luck trying to get in there, because everybody's going to try to go to the drive-ins just to get out of the house, right? So anyway, as you guys can see, our topic, it says baby boomers. What's wrong with y'all? And I tell you what, I'm going to sit back and drink my homemade strawberry lemonade, and I'm going to allow Donovan to do what he does, because this is actually something that is near and dear to his heart. For lack of better words, it's like nails to a chalkboard to him. So, so if you guys are watching, can you please take it upon yourselves, if you will, to share it so people can also get this great commentary. And hello to you guys on Facebook. I am so sorry for not acknowledging you. Hello to you guys on Facebook. You guys are the other part of the conversation. We cannot do this without you. And so thank you so much for being here. Also, thank you to Marcus Guyton for everything that he does behind the scenes. And so, Mr. Sadiq, take it away.
Well, you guys know, again, hope everybody's doing okay. I'm chilling at the house today. I did a little spring cleaning, did the piano keys and all that other stuff. So. Okay, well, what's on my mind today? And I think it's kind of important. Now, we were on the war zone yesterday, and we were talking some serious issues in regards to, Black people moving on, moving forward, doing what, we can do. And the question came up of, what was the question, D? It was, can we move forward, or
what's wrong with the Black community, and can it be fixed?
And there's no wrong answer to that question. Everybody has an opinion, which is good and great. But every single time, there's always this baby boomer or baby boomers. And for those of you guys who don't know, baby boomers were from the year 1942 to 1966. That's the kind of 20-year gap they kind of give. And Demetra and I would be children of baby boomers. So that's right. We're Generation Xers. So every time there's always a baby boomer that comes on there and tells us what's wrong with us. And I had to have, an issue, because, it was like, okay, wait a minute, you're breaking my arm, and then you're telling me I'm a cripple. How many of you guys remember growing up where grandma took care of the kids, your uncle or your aunt, she went on to go do her, oh, baby, don't worry, I got the kids, you go on and do your thing, and they're out there doing drugs, they're out there partying, they go into back of town. How many of you guys remember that? I remember it. And even if your father was in the home, if they're Vietnam vets, they weren't whole people, coming back. So now you guys are being raised in a dysfunctional home, right? These are baby boomers. There wasn't a big plethora of drugs up until the baby boomer generation. There wasn't. I mean, drugs have always been there. Always. But there was some respect about the drugs. Everybody did it in the back room. They didn't do it in front of the kids. Right? So this guy gets on there, and he's trying to tell us, well, y'all don't know, y'all this, y'all that. Okay. All right. Wasn't it the baby boomers that set up the peer system here in California? How the hell can you set up a system where you're going to get almost 80 to 100% of your pay when you retire? And then Demetri and I come and get the job. You want to give us 30% of whatever we make over a period of time. Plus, I got to have a college degree. You didn't have a college degree getting that job. That's the baby boomers. And they're going to have the nerve to say, what's wrong with us?
So, and I want to kind of just piggyback off of what Donovan was saying. So again, we were having a conversation. The question on the war zone was, what's wrong with the Black community? Can it be fixed? And so there was a whole host of conversation about it. And there was a baby boomer or two basically saying, you guys don't know what you're talking about. If you would just listen to us or to me, then, you know, we'd be better off. And then I said, well, if you have all the answers, then why aren't we better off right now? Right. And so it's a fact that the baby boomer generation was that of the civil rights movement and the generation before them, obviously, but they were the one that was kind of in the middle, you know, at the thick of it, rather. And so for them, the civil rights was progress, right? And so a lot of times, I'm not saying all baby boomers, I don't want to deal in absolutes, but a lot of times baby boomers, you look at the younger generation and say, you guys are just complaining. Why aren't you happy? You should just be satisfied. But it's like they have to take into context, they were satisfied with, you know, integration, if you will, segregation ending, where they could go and drink and eat and sleep next to white people and live in the neighborhoods, which is why, partially why, a big reason why we don't have our own neighborhoods, because when civil rights took place, everybody just left, right? They wanted to go and live amongst white people. And then we know white flight took place. And so they have gotten their piece of the pie, if you will. And so in our generation, we're not content with, you know, just that little piece of the pie. We want more. Like, we are still suffering under police brutality. Our educational system is still jacked up. We're still, roughly 14% of the population. Our wealth, the wealth gap is still extremely wide, 15,000 or less for Black households, and then 170 for white households. And so it is said, and I'll keep repeating this, that it'll take us about 232 years to catch up to the wealth of white people without the help of reparations. And so I'm not saying that the baby boomers necessarily don't want reparations, but they're kind of like Donovan said, they were able to, you know, get good jobs back then. The factories and stuff were still booming for in the Black community. That not so much nowadays. They could buy a house. They could educate their children. You know, they can have a nice retirement. Like, they had a really good life. But people nowadays, especially Black people, it's hard to find a decent job. A lot of times you have to get 1 or 2 jobs to make ends meet. Education you'll never pay off the student loans if you have just the job you have, right? You have to end up like winning the lotto or something miraculously happen. So there's a lot of things that the baby boomers benefited from that the generations younger than them don't benefit from anymore. And so it is very excruciating. And I use that word, excruciating, to hear baby boomers say, well, y'all just need to just, you know, go ahead and vote for Joe Biden. You know, or stuff like that. You guys just need to just be quiet, and, you know, you guys need to just suck it up, right?
Right. You know, but they tell us to suck it up, but at the same time, they're telling us we ain't shit. Okay, you told us the damn lie about, hey, you go to college, you're going to get a good job. Almost none of them went to college as a whole, and they got good jobs. My mom is in a position right now, a government worker. She's about to retire. She's almost 70. My mom will be 70 years old next month. And trust me, I am thankful that my mom is still here. You know, when you lose a parent, it's a big thing. I lost my father at a very, very young age. But my mother only had a high school diploma. And the very job that she works in right now, you have to have a minimum of a bachelor's degree with experience. She worked for Geological Survey, you know, the eggheads. But that's what I'm saying. They've rigged the game to where, oh, okay, well, we got this. Think about this. If your parents, and I've got a bunch of friends that are in love with their children. Remember, Demetri, I would always tell you about these people that are in love with their children. Like you're not in love with your children. You love your daughter. You know, you have a love for your daughter, but you're not going to help her do nothing. When you're in love with your children, I'm talking about these people fawn over their children. Like right now, my son just graduated with my youngest son just graduated his master's degree, right? He can't find a job because he's waiting for the internship to start, but we're in the pandemic, so he's kind of sitting there, right? That fool better never come up and ask me, Dad, could I get some money? No, brother, you're sitting at your mom's house right now waiting to go to this thing in Miami, whatever you're going to go to. Your mom, I'm very sure his mom's got plenty of work for him to do that he can earn some money for himself. And what I'm saying is, I think it's better I let him be a man to the best of his knowledge and what I've already taught him. And I really feel that if these baby boomers, since you guys didn't continue to teach us leadership, that's why we have 150-year-old Maxine Waters. We have the Corrine Browns. We have these people still in power. They don't give a damn about us. They don't. What do you think?
Well, let me get to some of these comments and I'll give you my opinion on that. And so, hey, Terrence, what's happening? He says, what's good? And Sydney says, what's up, fam? And Terrence, you also say, no, because Black people will sell you out over BS. Well, we can talk about it. You also say, I do. And hey, Brandy, say facts. And Terrence says, yep, yeah, if we stop selling each other out, we can get a lot done. So, Terrence, can you be a little specific as what you mean about us selling each other out? I mean, I can guess, but I want to hear it from you. And Cindy says, I'll blame Donovan and Dee's generation. Well, maybe a little bit.
Well, no. How can he blame us? We can't even get jobs. I can't take care of my family because my mom won't retire. So how's it my fault? How's it my fault? You know, I mean, every generation up until the baby boomers, they did their 20 years with a company. And there are some countries in the world, you can go work a job if you need to, okay? But the most money they can ever pay you at that second job after you retired from your good job is minimum wage. And they do that so that the next generation can be productive and take care of their responsibilities. When grandma is still reaching down here to do for the great grandkids and you know all that other stuff, it's a nightmare. And remember my one cousins, their grandmothers in Santa Ana. Okay, all the grandkids and the great grandkids lived over at grandma's, right? Everybody just laid up there and grandma dies. House of horrors, because now the grandkids think, well, this is my house, I live here. But guess what? Grandma never taught anybody how to pay a property tax. Never taught them about this, never taught them about that. Just let them play dominoes, smoke their weed, do whatever they need to do, right? Because they took advantage of grandma, which is human nature. But now for the family, oh my God, it's a house of horrors, because now uncle's got to throw out, whoever the executor has to throw out the nephews and nieces. And now they're mad because, well, we don't got no place to go. Well, whose fault is that? Where were your parents? Why didn't the grandma put you out? She put her own children out, but she won't put the grandkids out. Come on now.
And Brandy says they benefited and we paid for their benefits. Yep. And Donovan says Sydney's blaming us. Laugh out loud. Hey, Lanisha, what's happening? Says dropping knowledge. We trying to, sister. And then Donovan's saying, welcome to everyone. Welcome. What do you think? And Samuel, what's happening? Says greeting. Baby boomers are from 1946 to 1964. And then Brandy says they set us up for the downfall.
Okay, I'm not going to just, some people kind of move that number, but that's fairly close. It's around that time. Yeah.
And Brandy says they set us up for the downfall. Some knew, some didn't. And Lanisha says, ooh, true story. See it all the time. So I think she's talking about what you were saying about how the grandparents baby the grandkids and all of that. And Cindy says, you asked what happened to the Black community. I gave you the 80s. What that baby boomers, your generation or my generation, I think it was that baby boomers, your generation or my generation, that was your generation and your children running wild. We have boys running around here with dresses talking about we have to respect that. That's your children's age.
Absolutely. Now, I'm not going to disagree with you, Sydney, but why is that? Because when I wanted to beat his ass, grandma was like, well, you need to talk to the kids.
But you know what, though? I would say, in all fairness, I think most grandparents are a little bit more lenient with the grandkids, because they say grandparents like the children, but they love the grandchildren, right? Like the kids, yeah, because I really like had to raise you and you got on my nerves for at least 18 years. But the grandkids, I say this all the time. I don't have any grandkids, but I have great nieces and nephews. And I'm like, it's not my job to tell them no. Right? They can have whatever they want. It's not my job to discipline them. In fact, I'm not going to do that. Right. But I will agree with Sydney that, because I was actually having this conversation with my daughter, and she says it is you guys' generation. You guys have dropped the ball with us. And Chris Rock talks about it a lot. What he did in the stand-up, where he says nowadays you got the kids calling the grandmama mama and the mama Pam, right? Calling her by her first name. And so I would agree with Sydney that it is our generation that we've really just dropped the ball. Now, I know my mom's generation of the 60s and civil rights, they were going to find themselves or whatever. But I think our generation was like, shoot, you in the club, I'm in the club right behind you. You know, like
no. Like I said, I'm not absolving our generation for some complicity in it, because I'm not gonna let some other man feed me and my wife or my girl, because I'm a real man. Okay, but what I'm saying is, or a better example, I'm not gonna let my mom raise my children.
Well,
and me and her get in it all the time. I tell her, these my kids.
But to his point,
you already had your kids. To
his point, though, in the 80s, and you know, we grew up in the 80s. I was born in 71. You were born like 59 or something like that. But I was born in 71. Donovan's 70. So, you know, we grew up in the 70s and 80s. And so we know that crack cocaine, you know, came and ran roughshod through our community. And so also, let's not forget, you know, Joe Biden and Bush and Clinton and all these, you know, crime bills that were written that snatched, you know, whole families apart. There are still some people who are in prison. A lot of men, black men, are in prison today over, you know, small amounts of cocaine or crack or whatever the case is. And so we know a lot of those things played into that, leaving a lot of single parent households. The 80s, you know, if you were around, you knew it was some recessions and stuff like that going on. So it's a whole host of things going on that help cause the further dilapidation of the black community. And so that generation, to Sydney's point, is our generation, right? Well, we still, you know, we were still kids during the crack era. I know I was, you know, I was, you know, still under 18. I turned 18 in 1989, so I was still a kid, you know. So that was still our parents' generation that, you know, fell apart.
Had the control, the control. You know, and what I'm saying is, okay, so here we are now. I'm 70 years old, like Demetrius says, right? I'm 70 years old. Demetrius, what, 38?
There you go.
Right? Okay. Now, give us the leadership. My point is, Mr. Baby Boomer, whatever you want to say, you can say. Sit back and be a grandparent and let us take the leadership. And maybe if you let us maybe try something different, we can pull our people out of this hole that you guys have put us in. But no, you don't want to do that. You want to ride this damn thing until the wheels fall off. And then, you know, I mean, seriously, I've got girlfriends right now. And I talk to her all the time. And a lot of them, I give them advice. They say, oh, my son doesn't want to do this. I got a friend who has her son, 23 years old. He's sitting at the house. Already had made a mistake. And don't get me wrong, I'm not heartless. Everybody's entitled to a mistake. But when you keep making that mistake, there's a problem. She has her son. Now, she has daughters, but she has her son. I already had one child. Okay, you give him a pass on that. This fool has 2 children, additional coming. And so she asked me about it. And I said, put him out. But if you put him out, you know, he ain't got nowhere to go. He's a man. Put him out. It ain't like, you know, you're going to have a daughter and you got to, you know, she's got to go through the prenatal and stuff like that. No, he's a man. Put him out. Won't do it. She won't do it. That's the problem. She's in love with her children.
But that's also probably our generation.
Yes. Yes. No, exactly. Because she was you know, and like I said, it's amazing how I see some of my friends and they start having grandchildren and they just fall in love with them. And everybody says, that's what's going to happen to me. No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not. No, it's not. No, I'm going to love them. But guess what? I'm still going to be in my summer home in South Africa. I'm still going to be, you know, going where I need to go. If you want me to see the grandkids, please send them.
Right.
You know, I'll give them 30 days out here and show them some stuff. But I'm not in love with, you know, I'm not even in love with my kids.
You're saying, what you're saying is you're not going to take on the responsibility of completely raising them, as a lot of people, especially in our generation, and I did in, you know, our mom generation, but completely absolving the children of the responsibility. I'm going to get to you guys' comments, but I do want to piggyback off of what Donovan said. You know, I also know people who have kids 27 and 30, mostly boys, who have made like, they don't even, not just one baby mama, but 2 and 3 baby mamas, and they living at home. And to your point, they won't put them out. And so it's like, well, why do you think it's easy for them, you know, to keep procreating and not taking care of these kids? Because they snuggled up on the mom and dad, not having to be responsible at all. But I'm gonna tell you, if I had a son that was doing that, you gotta go, because I'm making it easy for you to do that. Because I guarantee if you were out on your own and you were having to really take care of yourself and the child, you wouldn't be out there laying your stuff around and just, you know, willy-nilly making children. You know, so I agree with you on that. So let me get to some of these comments. And Lanisha says, laugh out loud, Donald, your brother, what's happening? I saw you on Donovan's Inland Empire show. Very good, talking about cars and stuff. You're natural. He says, I'm listening. Hey, y'all. And Sammy says, Generation X, 1965 to 1980. So that's us, Donovan and I. Baby boomers catching heat. Woo! Just made it out in 1965. So you're Gen X too. And Brandon says, I was born in 78 and I saw what happened. We just went with what was going on while the baby boomers were getting paid. Yeah, they can, you know, mom could stay home. Like, my mom stayed home and she had a degree in nursing, but she stayed home. They were able to do those things back then, but not so much now, right? I mean, you can, but not as easy as they were able to back then. And Sydney says, we used to have the community that watched you, and your generation said, don't touch my kid. He said, so our generation said, don't touch my kid. I remember getting a community ass whooping when I got out of line. Yeah. I remember my mom saying that was really prevalent in her generation, that it would be nothing for you to get an ass whooping up the block and come home and then get another one because the word had traveled that you was out of line. But nowadays, mom and dad want to get them up with you for even saying something to your kids. So I agree with you on that. And hey, the car, what's happening? Says, the thing as a father about putting them out are the dangers of out. So can you describe, what do you mean by the dangers of out? Because I mean, well, tell me what you mean by before I guess. I think I understand what you're saying, but tell me what you mean.
Well, what I think he means in that is like what you're saying. You know, we let the kids get to 18 and we put them out.
Okay. Right.
Yeah. I don't think you should do that. If your child is doing what they're supposed to do, you support them and you help them do something. That's fine. But there does come a time when you say, you know what? How many of you guys see the movie Baby Boy? I got my old lady, you know, I want to fry some grits and eggs in my drawers. You know, I can't do that with my, you know, with mama when the grandkids are there and the kids are there. There does come a time when you got to tell your children, you know what? You're almost 30 years old. I'm talking about the men. I'm not talking about the girls. I'm talking to the men.
Well, he's saying the dangers he means by the police. Yeah, I just think as parents, we need to do our best to raise our children up so that I mean, I know a lot of times things happen to us as Black people that are absolutely not our fault. But I'm saying while they're in our house, we need to equip them with everything they need. And so I disagree wholeheartedly, well, not wholeheartedly, but some, with putting your children out at 18, especially if you haven't given them the tools that they need to be out at 18. Because think about when you were 18, I'm just speaking to everybody, when you were 18, you probably didn't know how to, you know, navigate life on your own. And if you were put out at 18, it was rough. You had to figure things out. And so a lot of times people want to put their kids out it's because they haven't really spent the necessary time teaching them the things they need to be able to survive.
Exactly. Now you just hit the nail on the head. We as parents didn't teach them. Where were you? Why doesn't that kid have the tools to go out there and do what they need to do? My son right now, my youngest son, he's gone out, had his own place. He's come home. There's nothing wrong with that. For men, how many men do you guys know right now, these young men, are always moving in with the girlfriend? He ain't got no place to go when mad day comes. And you guys know what I'm talking about. What I'm saying is that when you're raising young men, you have to show them, okay, I'm going to go out and experience life. Okay, boom, boom, boom. Oh, man, I can't make the rent. I can't do that. Hey, Dad, can I come home? Sure, son, you could come home. That might even stop them making additional children that they can't take care of. But we don't do that. Well, I'm going to go stay with grandma. Okay, a good example. My son's mom deployed. He went with his grandparents while she was deployed, his aunts, the family structure in Ohio. Had no problem with that because he couldn't go with me because I'm deploying. So they're gone. So she comes back. Okay, the grandparents call me up and say, hey, Don, you and Lenora got your career, you guys, why don't we let Quincy stay here? Absolutely not. Absolutely. That's our responsibility. It's not your responsibility. That's our responsibility. Yeah, it would be easier for she and I to have you guys take our responsibility from us, but we're not going to do that. It's our responsibility. And I made sure my son came back and dealt with life with his parents to the best of his ability. But we let, grandma, that's going to be easier on me. Now I can go to the club, girl. I could go, back to 29 pounds and hit them clubs and, that's what I'm saying. The easier route, we always do that when we should be taking care of our responsibilities.
Right. All right. And so Samuel says, mistake, unintentional departure from the truth, error, intentional departure from the truth. I like that. And Cindy says, I said in the war zone, we coddle our boys, your generation. So he's saying our generation is the one that coddle the boys. And there's a lot of coddling of boys come along. And I always joke with my daughter, and I say, gosh, like, you got it rough. My daughter's 27. And I'm like, y'all got it rough. I said, because these boys, they're boys to me, not to disrespect them, but in age, that these boys they're treacherous. And so my daughter's single. She's like, I'm not in a hurry, to just get up with anybody because they like on some extra stuff, And so, and let's see. Hey, Channy, you say, historically, we raise our daughters and love our sons. That being said, the expectations are not the same for sons and daughters. No, absolutely not. We do. We make sure the girls know everything they're supposed to know. And I don't want to say stick it to them, but really just raise them. And the boys is like, leave him alone. He don't have to take out the trash. He's tired. All that other stuff. It just, I never biologically had any sons, but I have nephews, and I don't understand that. It's like, because I think what people don't realize is think about the type of husband or boyfriend that son is going to make somebody. It's going to be horrible. Like, why do that to somebody else, right? And then Cindy says, but that's why you got these boys running around here, skinny jeans and their goddamn pants are by their knees, looking like hobos. Cindy says, I am 1980 and I'm not Generation X anymore. Yeah, you had just barely made it. And okay, and so Cindy says, I am a millennial. I knew it. Yes, you are a millennial. And Cindy says, I feel a part of being a good parent is training their children to leave their home. Yeah, but parents don't do that anymore. Just like, listen, I've been on my own since I was 19, okay? 19, and it wasn't always easy. In fact, a lot of times it was rough. But, I did what I had to do. And, when I was 21, almost 22, I had my daughter. So I was no going back home. And I mean, I could have, but I was like, I'm going to just, make it do what it do. So, I mean, I agree. We should, like, I've had people say, like, when my daughter went off to college, oh, don't you miss her? And I do, but that's what I've always raised her to go live your life. Don't worry about what I'm doing here. Go be productive. Go do whatever it is you want to do. you know, I never had a problem with that.
Yeah, I always told my son, you know, get a job where me and your mom can come and visit you, and it's exotic and it's nice. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Go be productive so you can take care of mama. And Cindy says your generation was hitting the pipe.
Wrong. Because think about it. If Demetria was 17, 13 during the 80s, that wouldn't be us. That would be our parents' generation. That's the baby boomers. That's where the problem is. And if you talk to a lot of us and we say, yeah, my dad was in and out of jail. Yeah, my mom was a crack addict. That's that generation, the baby boomers. And that's when we're talking about. But don't get me wrong. There's a lot of us that followed right along with it.
Yeah, that definitely was the baby boomers that was hitting the pipe for sure. Right. And hey, Corliss, she say, hey, y'all, old men too. So she says the old men, you know, basically don't have act right too. Trust me, we know. That's why I said it's hard for a lot of, and I'm just speaking from a woman's point of view. I know there's a lot of women out there who aren't on their square as well, but it is hard for women. I mean, this because men from 8 to 80, just like I don't get it.
Well, you know, what really fucks it up, excuse my language, you guys, fucks it up for men is the fact that we think, okay, we're young, you know, you got time, I'm the gangster life, I just now did 15 years. Now I'm 35, 40 years old, I have nothing saved up, I'm getting older, shaving my head, you know, trying to look young, right? I have no health care, I got nothing coming, I have nothing to offer a woman my age. Damn, if a younger girl's that stupid to take me in. And, you know, we haven't built up anything. And then we're still out there with a foot in our ass. By the time we realize that the game has, you know, spun us around.
Right. And Dakari says, my son has been responsible since he was a kid. He's 22 now. He has his own place, his own money. He's had run-ins with the police and peers. It's a new day. Somehow when he's over, I always try to get him to spend the night because at least in that moment, I know he's good. He has no kids, nice whip, doing his thing, but I just feel like he's safer when I'm around. You know, and I think that's true. And kudos to your son being 22 and having his stuff together because...
Wait. What? Wait, she sounds like that. Is your son that guy that just got arrested for using people's money on Love and Hip Hop? Was that him? Oh, I'm messing with it.
No, you know, and Dakar, big ups to you and your son because I know that it took you as his father to get to that point for him being responsible because there's a lot of 52-year-old men who can't even speak to half of the stuff he's doing. So, you know, big ups to him. But I understand, you know, I think that's just a parental thing. We feel like, you know, we've protected them their whole lives, right? And so the minute that they're no longer under our wings, if you will, we do get a little bit anxious and worried for them, especially, you know, having Black sons. I would imagine it's always, you know, something that's on your mind. But you know, you just have to trust that you did the right thing, and it sounds like you did, and that he knows what he's supposed to be doing, right? But no, I completely get it, wanting to protect your kids. And Donovan says, we love the boys and teach the girls. Yep. And Corliss says they be trifling. And Channing says, I have a son. He's a college graduate, working and living on his own. I was determined to raise a man, not a dependent one on a woman. Absolutely, because there's a lot of men, you know, depend on women. And I'm not saying a man shouldn't depend on a woman for anything, but, you know, I think a man should have his own stuff. I was reading, I gave it to my daughter to read. It's called Before I Say I Do. Before I Say I Do, Before You Say You Do, something like that by brother Minister Nuri Muhammad. And he talks about that, how men are supposed to already have their foundation together before they, you know, can bring on a woman, right? Because those are the things you would need to do anyway. And so should a man depend on a woman? Yeah, I mean, if y'all stable and you got your thing together, you know, that's your wife or whatever. But as far as
you're in it together.
All I got is these 2 hefty bags. I need a place.
Could you put some money on my books? I mean, you got women out there that will put money on a man's books before they buy diapers and wipes for their children. It's sad. It's sad.
Shit.
But but the thing is, my whole point is, You got these baby boomers that constantly want to berate us and the younger generations that are coming up afterwards, when, just like some people have been saying, these are the people that were hitting the pipe. These are the people that were free love. These were the people that were, wilding out and just doing what they got to do. Then you have us and the kids beneath us. We only know what you guys have taught us, and you've taught us absolutely nothing.
Hey, Kevin, what's happening? Says, hello, my peeps. What are we talking about? We're talking about baby boomers. What's wrong with y'all? And please don't take that personally. Hey,
no, hell no. Hell no. You can take it personally, because I'm sick and tired of y'all talking about, we ain't shit and we don't know what to do when we're trying to do it, and you guys are the ones obstructing us, trying to lift our people up. Cut the damn check.
Lanisha, you say, I feel that I failed in many areas of parenthood. However, my sons are independent and treat their wives as they should. This is because they've seen my struggles as their mother and refuse to ever have the woman they love experience the same. So if they didn't learn by positive examples, they learn by watching negative examples they refuse to become. Absolutely. And sometimes that works too, but I mean, I just think, I always say it's a very, very hard job to be a parent. It's probably the hardest job you'll ever have, because you're responsible for shaping another human being into being what they are supposed to be. And Lanisha, I know you personally, so, I know you to be a really good mother. So I think they also learn from watching you, because like you said, they loved you and they loved the things that you did. Like, Lanisha is a hustler. Okay. When I say a hustler, Lanisha does what she got to do. Right. So I think that made them love you more. I mean, obviously the kids, they love you more because they saw what you did and what you went through and what you had to do to make, to keep grinding and make things work. So like I said, I know Lanisha personally, so I know she does the damn thing.
Right. But my point is, for those of us that are watching the show and that are not baby boomers, have you guys noticed that the obstruction that is going on with us getting our check? I mean, a majority of your members of the Congressional Black Caucus are baby boomers. Have you guys heard Aunt Maxine talk about reparations? Even though when she was elected 30 years ago, she said that was her #1 platform, and she's still working on it.
She's busy. She's reclaiming her time.
But so they say what's wrong with this, whatever, but yet they won't leave leadership. Let us elect progressive, maybe younger. You had your time. Maybe it's time to bring in some new blood. That's why the NAACP is dying. Here in the Riverside chapter, we had the NAACP president die on the post. She refused to leave. And then you wonder why, my generation, other generations say, oh, well, I'm just going to do my own thing now. Obviously you guys aren't representing us. And that's, the whole premise of what these baby boomers are doing. They are constantly criticizing, but they are the main impediment for us not rising as a people. That's just my opinion.
Right. And Daryl says, Assalamu alaikum, and wa alaikum salam to you as well, Grand Rising. And Lanisha is saying, I guess, thank you. You're welcome. And Kevin says, I am a 2-woman man. I am with this. Okay. I want to make sure I read that right now. I am a 2-woman man. I am with the same women, 12 years. She's 25, my junior. I don't believe my life would be better if I was with someone simply because we are close in age. I have 3 sons, 45, 35, and 20, all 3 Africans born in America. I have done this for them all. I taught them to trust learning and your faith. I was born in 1954. My dad advised me, and my mom advised me, or my mother. I attempt to imitate them, and I think my children are better for it. So let me, I just want to clarify something. Are you saying that you have 2 women, or what is that about? Maybe I read it wrong. I don't think I read it wrong, but are you saying you have 2 women? And Samuel says, when I look at the generation, I look at the oppressor strategies for oppression during their times. Their struggle was relevant. I feel it's our job to build in what they did and take it to the next level. Make sure, see, we never lose make sure we never lose focus on the real enemy.
Right. But Samuel, how do you do that if that generation did not take the time to tell us, here's the baton, move it forward? They basically kept the baton and started tripping over their own feet.
And while I'm waiting for some more comments, I will say this. I agree with Donovan wholeheartedly in that, especially our Black leadership, misleadership. I mean, some of these people are just like, I mean, a lot of them, you know, no shade, they do die in the position. And it's like, why? Like, what is it within these people to make them think that I'm going to be, you know, 88 years old and I'm not giving it up? It's like, come on, surely you got to know the things that you applied when you were 30, 40 or whatever it was. Maybe they don't apply so much now. Maybe you do need to give up the seat and let somebody younger with some fresh ideas and, different ways of seeing things come in and help take like you say, the baton to the next step. But they're not doing that. And you know what? And forget them. The problem is us, is because we keep voting those people in. We keep allowing those people to hold the position, knowing they've not done nothing in the last 20 or 30 years that they've had the seat. Again, we go for the sound bites. I'm reclaiming my time, child, and all of that stuff. And we just run circles, hooping and hollering, about it. But it's like, that has not done anything for us. To Donovan's point about Maxine Waters, she's been talking about reparations only when somebody really brings it to her, but she hasn't made any major moves. I haven't seen her as passionate about, reparations for Black people as she's been about, Trump is dumb and we need to get him out of there. And all of that may be true, but it's like, how are you more passionate about him than you are about your own people?
Right. DACA. We got to do DACA. We got to do the DREAM Act. And then she gets her hand and her husband get their hand caught in a banking scandal that made Congress censor her. So what is her motive? Her own motives or for her people? And I'm going to tell you, she's not for Black people. Name me a John Lewis. It's like they're stuck in nostalgia. Well, when I marched with Martin Luther King ain't shit and relevant till today. He's not relevant. You want to know why he's not relevant? Because they haven't made him relevant and teaching us to move the baton forward. That's why when you talk to these young people and they say Martin Luther King, they're like, well, we got Barack Obama. He was the president. Even though Barack Obama didn't do shit either. But the point of the matter is, they got their seats, they getting their butter biscuits. Corrine Brown, 30 years in Congress, goes to prison for buying Beyonce box tickets. I could just go on. She got caught stealing out of the children's fund. But look, the first thing she goes, my pastor says I'm gonna pray for those. Yeah, I'm done. I'm done. I'm done.
But again, we keep voting for those people. So, I mean, are you really going to blame them, or are we really to blame to keep voting those people in, right? And Sammy says, right, each generation has their fault. We should be the change we are looking for. Absolutely. But to your point, to Donovan's point, we should be allowed to do that. We should, like if I've had the position for 20, 30 years and things are kind of just, I'm going to say, you know what? I've collected a lot of these lobbyists' money because they do, I'm sitting on, my bank account. I'll never spend all that money in there. I'm going to go and, I'm going to do me now. I'm going to go travel and let somebody else with some more fire, under them to have the seat so we can better our situation. But they won't do that. And Channing says, could it be that generation believes or believe that they have arrived? Example, live in suburbs, office desk next to the colonizer, able to buy big and talk loud. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you guys noticed, and when you talk to a Black person in America, where we're quick to make fun of with the warlords and all the stuff like that, and how they keep overthrowing each other. You got the Mobutus, you got the Mugabes. Like, oh man, these guys, they're in it for themselves. What is what they're doing any different than what our so-called Black leaders are doing? It's the same thing. They're enriching themselves. They could care less about the revolution. John Lewis. This is why people keep voting for John Lewis. He keeps invoking, well, I marched with King, and we're going to do it. But look at his congressional record. Look at his, we're stuck in nostalgia, at least our parents are. And I'm going to give you an example. I'm a Tuskegee Airman legend, right? Legacy. I'm sorry, not legend. Legacy.
Well, I say you are pretty old.
Yeah, I am pretty old. But everybody understands the Tuskegee Airmen situation. Black aviators, Black women aviators, so on and so on. We had a organization right here in my very city next to the Air Force Base, right? Ask me how many people in that organization were actually aviators or had an aviation background.
None.
Almost none. Almost none. I think there was, one, Buford Johnson. Buford Johnson finally dies. Organization is gone now. And people would come to me and they say, well, Donovan, why won't you join this organization? They didn't ask me. And then when I went to a couple of meetings, it was a bunch of bullshit. Let me pat myself on the back. No, what are we doing in the community? Why are we giving scholarships to Hispanics? This is the Black Tuskegee Airmen. This is supposed to be about a thing. But I'm the troublemaker. I'm trying to get the organization back on track. We don't give scholarships to Asians, whites, or Hispanics. That's just, I'm sorry. You don't come here and do that. But this organization did, and it's dead. Now it's dead. But that's what we do.
Yeah, and I agree with him on that. We have heard a lot of our Black leaders. And listen, I don't want anybody to think we're cool with kids in cages and all that, because we're not. But we've heard a lot of our Black leaders, feverishly take on DACA. Oh, we got to do something about it. Oh, this, that, and the other. It's like, well, it's funny. Never hear you get that passionate about things that happen to Black people. But now, and I get it. It's a, hot ticket item, with politics and all of that. But it's like, we as the voters should pay attention to that. Oh, okay, I see where your interests are. Well, how about this? Let them vote for you. And then we'll go vote for somebody who is going to have our better interest at heart, at least first. I'm not saying they should never care about other people, but they should care about their own people first, or at least just as much, right? And oops, I missed some comments. And Shelly says, hey, fam, what's happening? And Demetra, is like mine, but with eyes. What's happening says we need to educate ourselves on what it means to operate on the public side versus the private side. According to law, sovereignty versus citizen, the truth will set us free, but we have to find it. Well, I agree with that 100%, but I think a lot of us, especially as Black people, have a problem with just even having knowledge of self. Even knowing who we are. We still keep hearing this debate. Oh, well, and we hear this from Black people. If Black people had a Black agenda to give to the politics, then we could, we've had Black agendas. Go all the way back to Marcus Garvey, 1920s. We had a Black agenda. So the point, and I agree with you, but a lot of us we're struggling with knowing who we are just on a daily basis. So, and Samuel says, we just have to separate from a system that teaches us what and how to think. You can't fix a problem living in the same environment that created it. Absolutely. But that's the thing. A lot of us do not want to separate. We think, whining and crying for civil rights, a false idea of civil rights, because, as Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, you can't have civil rights without human rights first. White supremacy in the Constitution don't even really see Black people as humans. So how the hell are they going to give you civil rights? And so I agree with you. Instead of whining, oh, we need equality and justice and all of that. But we're looking to get it from people who never intended to give it to us in the first place, because they didn't bring us over here on these slave ships to give us any of that. They brought us over here to be product, cargo. That's what we were. You were to get yourself out there in the field and make this nation wealthy, which it's why it's wealthy today. The America became wealthy off of slave labor. That's all you were. You were just a tool. You were no better than the cotton gin. In fact, the cotton gin was better than you once it came along. You know, so and let's see. But I agree with you. We do need to separate. And Kevin says,
real quick. How
Sure.
many remember in the 1970s in Uganda under Idi Amin when he threw the Asians out?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yes. We got to remember the Asians controlled the economy of Uganda, which kept the black people in a servitude status. Yes, by throwing the Asians out, it put the economy into a free fall. Of course, they never talk about the sanctions that the Western powers put on these African countries when they do things like that. But here it is, what, 30, 40 years later, Uganda is not dependent on the Asian people to control their economy and get jobs. You know, sometimes you got to go through those growing pains and self-reliance. How can you be self-reliant if you're never sure about yourself to begin with?
Right.
So as bad as they make Idi Amin, that is one of the best things he did for his country, was to throw those Asians out and make the black people become entrepreneurs and do for themselves.
And you're right. We never hear about that. We hear about how horrible of a guy he was. He was this terrible dictator and all that stuff, right? And Kevin says, I got married at 18 because I got a woman pregnant. My dad said you were lucky. God found you a wife. I spent from 1973 to 1997 being or attempting to be like my dad. He never told my mom, go get a job. He worked 14 hours a day and would have been shamed if his wife worked. I was him. My wife begged me to let her work. We are divorced now divorced, and she is independently wealthy. I am not. I am with my lady, African born in America, Eritrean, Ethiopian, and is the best marriage. And I believe, and I can't see the rest of your comment.
Yeah, I'm with you, brother. I'm heading back to Africa to get me one.
Okay, so that's what happened. And you know, my dad was like that too. He didn't want my mom to work, and she didn't work. And even with my stepfather, my stepfather worked. My mom didn't work. My mom stayed at home, was a stay-at-home mom until I was like 18. So yeah, that's just you guys' generation. I would say the men were really on that level. It's like, nah, you know, you stay home and make the house a home and all that other stuff, but not nowadays.
Well, think about it now. To send a kid to daycare, that's money outside your household. That's almost a house note.
Well, then you got other people raising your children too. Yeah. You don't know what they're doing to your children. And Lanisha says, Donovan is playing no games with this topic. Go ahead. And this is actually Donovan's topic. This is his nails under the what is it? Whatever. It's under the skin topic for him. This drives him nuts. And then Sheldon says, yep, I have witnessed similar behaviors. And Demetra, he says, they never will. And Samuel says, I think it's all right to die on your post. However, you should train your replacement and stay abreast of the modern time. Minister Farrakhan does a great job of staying relevant. He is now 87 as of May 11th, born 1933, the silent generation. Absolutely. And I agree with you. Leaders, good leaders actually make it to where other people can duplicate what they're doing. They actually train other people. They don't hold on to all the information and the knowledge. No, it's my precious. I'm going to keep it for myself. They actually share it so that way when they're gone, however they're gone, they retire, whatever the case is, people can continue on building onto what they were trying to do it. And they also build on their way. They have the foundation, but then they might have something else to take it to the next level. That's what real leaders do. These leaders we have nowadays, no, they're not doing that. Because they don't think they'll ever leave. And then when they, God forbid, they do leave, was it in Baltimore?
Elijah Cummings.
I had another name for some reason. Elijah Cummings. You know, he died of cancer, and they had to have a special election. Like he didn't even, you know, I'm sure he knew he was sick, but didn't even prepare really. I guess his wife was going to run, but she didn't win.
See now, wait, and that's a prime example. We are not that far removed from our African cousins. Have the same mentality. What did Mugabe do when he was getting up there? My wife is going to go take over. And when that was happening, I thought that's when they said, "Oh no, we're not going to do that."
Right. Somebody is going to continue, like really continue, right? But it's really going to be me. But it's just going to be my wife in name, right? And Shirley says exactly. And Kevin says, this is definitely the time to find new leadership. However, the age of the person cannot be the qualifier. But indeed, Africans born in America must come together with ideas, methods, and plans and for economic growth that is unapologetic and ageless but purposeful. Yeah, I agree. I don't think age necessarily has anything to do with it. I think we're more or less talking about people who have commandeered the seat for 30 and 40 years. And it's not even just the black politicians, the white ones. I mean, look at Mitch McConnell. How old is he?
Exactly. Who was that guy up in Michigan? Conyers that did the study thing. When he got bounced out for sexual inappropriate stuff, his son or somebody wanted to run in his place. We have this mentality that, once I'm elected, this is my seat.
Right.
And then it gets gentrified out, and then we lose the seat, and it never comes back. And then the people that you were supposed to be protecting are out with a foot in the ass.
Well, damn. And then Shirley says yes, and Samuel says, didn't Idi Amin make whites bow in his presence? Yes, he did.
You damn right.
Hey, Vaughn, what's happening? I haven't seen you in a long time. Me and Vaughn go way back. I'm talking about way back. I hope everything is going well. And so, yeah, I mean, again, I think the baby boomers did the best they could with what they had. But, it's like, it's time to just like, don't y'all want to retire?
Well, think about this. Donald Trump is in his 70s. Look how fucked up the country is. This guy has no ideas. He's a baby boomer. And total loser.
And I just read too, he was saying how he don't think it's a good idea to keep the schools closed, because if the schools are still closed, then it doesn't really signify that the country is really open. Now we need to send the kid. Now, mind you, this orange devil said that while the COVID is mutating and doing some crazy stuff to children. It says they're affecting the children from months old to 18 years old. They're having strokes, and they're having what do you call it? It look like symptoms of frostbite and these rashes, and messing up all their organs. And you want to send the kids back to school, huh?
Now, remember, this is the generation that said when they were in their prime, don't trust nobody over 30.
Yeah, so Demetra says, the creator gave us freedom and we have been tricked into allowing men to control it. We must stand on our square. The laws of maximum reign supreme in the judicial system, and we must learn how to use them to our advantage. I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. But then the other part of me says, well, the judicial system was never written to benefit Black people. It just wasn't. I mean, even to this day, we're still arguing. Even to this day, we're seeing Black people being murdered wholesale by the police. Breonna Taylor is a great example, right? The young sister in Kentucky, the police, barged in her home with bullets. Never had an opportunity to know what was going on. Her boyfriend returned fire or drew his gun because they didn't announce themselves. They didn't know who it was. It turns out that the police had the wrong apartment. Now, in the midst of doing that, they also fired bullets into, I think they said 3 other apartments, or a total of 3 apartments. So they're just out there just shooting. And it doesn't sound like anybody's been held accountable yet for doing that. In fact, the boyfriend is sitting in jail on an attempted murder charge because they said he shot a police officer. But now it turns out that the police officer was shot by friendly fire. Never mind the fact, and I'm being facetious, obviously, that Breonna Taylor was shot 8 times in her home, probably never knowing what the deal was, right? And so I say all that to say we talk about using the judicial system for our advantage. I don't think it's possible. I think Samuel hit it on the head, and Marcus talks about it a lot. We need to separate this nothing. It's very few things in the United States that are actually for Black people. Even in 2020, we still have to fight to get those things, right? Ahmaud Arbery, his murderers took them 2 months. 2 months to get held responsible or even taken to jail.
And did you hear the father murderer, the head murderer? He did not have arresting powers. He was behind in his so-called training and stuff, and the DA, gave him some kind of exemption or whatever.
Well, they were saying he was retired, but something like he never really had an official position. No. Just before he retired,
about a year and a half, 2 years before he retired, he lost his arresting power. So within that time, all the people that he was involved with and all the cases that he was involved with, those cases are going to have to be reviewed because he did not have the power. But this goes to show you, white people don't give a shit about the law when it comes to what they want to do. They just don't.
Right. And Demetra, I get it. We should be knowledgeable about those things. I just think we should. But I think we should also make no mistake that these laws were not designed for Black people. In fact, they were designed against Black people, even to this day.
Yeah. Demetra, ask me, what am I going to do? What am I going to be doing today?
What are you doing today?
I am going to open my gun case and I will be cleaning my gun and oiling it. And I'm going to tell anybody out there that owns a gun or can illegally purchase one, please do so. But at the same time, if you're one of those people that keep your gun locked up and you never use it, it's been there for 13 years, you've got to clean these guns, because when the time comes for you to use it, it can explode in your hand or however you're shooting it. So please get out there and do your due diligence, because we are in the zombie apocalypse, and I'm telling you, it's gonna get bad.
And listen.
We got to get you a gun. We got to go get you one.
I'm in limbo, remember? I'm in limbo. Not that I can't.
I think that charge they have of you threatening the white folks.
No, I don't have any felonies or nothing like that. It's just I'm going to be moving. And so it doesn't make any sense for me to get a license here and then have to get one there. White people are armed to the teeth. They have got guns coming out of every orifice of their body, right? And we're seeing a lot of that manifest, especially now with these stay-at-home orders, how they're saying it's unconstitutional, it's not right, you're encroaching upon our freedoms, and they're making a display at a lot of these city capitals, and they're doing it sometimes inside with the guns. And so I agree with you, Donovan. We should do all we can to be armed. I mean, it's just a fact. I think they said white people own guns to the tune of 36%, Black people to the tune of 26%, which is not terrible.
Well, those numbers are skewed because remember, a lot of white people, their guns are handed down generation to generation to generation. So that 36% for white people is white people are at least over 50% armed, at least.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that. And so let's see. And so Kevin says, please keep the beast that rolls from the sea of depravity off our page and out of our mouths. You talking about Trump?
Yeah, he's talking about Trump. But at the same time, I agree with you, Kevin. But at the same time, you got to really ask yourself, Trump is so stupid. Sometimes he tells the truth and doesn't even realize it. Was he lying about Baltimore? Was he? Has he released? Right. Has he released Black people from prison? He has. I'm not a Trump supporter. We're not here to do that. But you got to give the person their due when they're doing what they're supposed to. Has Joe Biden? Oh, lift up every voice. That benefits everybody. That's not reparations. But they want us to vote for that man. Come on. Let's give the credit where credit's due when it's due. That's all I'm saying.
But guess what? Trump is still a douchebag, though. And Dimitri said that's why we must operate in the private. A citizen is nothing more than a slave. I agree with you. Absolutely. I mean, look at these. Donovan spoke about it the other day. These stay-at-home orders. And people talk about I'm exercising my freedoms. Well, if you haven't done all you need to do to prepare, that's true for a lot of us. I say as Black people, especially, you're going to have to go back to work in a lot of these states where they're saying, oh, we're open for business, even though there's a killer on the loose. And usually that means us because we predominantly work in the service industry. It's just a fact. So if that doesn't say slavery, I don't know what is. Which is why, to your point, it would behoove us, to go private and do for self, build our own businesses and, things like that. So we can make our own decisions.
Now's the time. Where are these baby boomers talking about that? I'm not talking about the ones on the national level. I'm talking about the ones in the local level. You don't see not one Black person talking about Aubrey being murdered in the streets and what we got to do, or them getting on a plane as representatives and going over there and kicking a little ass.
They're reclaiming their time. Give them a moment. And Sammy says, just learned from a friend of mine that is a minister in Louisville, Kentucky, that Miss Taylor was a friend of his daughter. Yeah, I mean, it's just, and it's sad because, she doesn't get, and they say that's true, about a lot of women who are murdered, especially by police brutality, Black women rather, they don't get the limelight. I know that's kind of a weird way of saying it, but they don't get the attention the attention that Black men who are murdered. And, I think we need to start talking about Breonna Taylor's case a little bit more because just, I don't even know how to, like, that could be anybody. And the guy they were looking for was in jail already. Didn't even live there. They already had the dude in custody. So somebody just completely dropped the ball, went in there and murdered somebody, slaughtered her. And it's like, oops, well, we got to make sense of this. So we're going to take her fiance to jail for attempted murder. And they said the guy has never had any criminal background ever. None what he was doing, what he's supposed to be doing per this Constitution, right? Isn't it legal to carry? Is it open to carry something in Kentucky? But he's doing what he's supposed to be doing. He's protecting his woman. He's protecting his woman. And now she's dead. And he's looking at an attempted murder charge on a police officer. Hell, that's damn near a death sentence if he's found guilty. And Corliss says, I have 3 pieces myself. And I was actually reading an article, I can't remember who put it up, where it says that Black women especially better start looking into getting armed because we're at a point to where we have to protect ourselves, right? And then Kevin says, unfortunately, the laws of God, nature, and man depends on the integrity of humanity. Ergo, as one who has practiced law, the written instruments are not the problem. The people that take up the mantle to serve the law refuse and are not punished. The only reason I am feared in court is because I use the Constitution like Arnold Schwarzenegger used weights. No one can fairly challenge my use of the law. Africans born in America would do well to learn how to file lawsuits, petition, and sit on. I can't see the rest of your comments. But no, I agree. I think we should know the law, but I don't think we should be, because me and Donovan would have this argument a lot in the beginning when we first started doing our podcast, when he was like, oh, well, Black men, if you just do what the police say and, you tell them your rights, they won't mess with you. It was like, yeah, that's not how it works most of the time. Because we've seen plenty of Black dudes, hell, not even get the chance to say, hey, what's the problem, Ossifa?
Yeah. Before they're gunned down. Yeah. What was that kid that was gunned down in Ohio? I mean, they weren't even on the scene 3 seconds and they gunned the kid down.
Yeah, or Philando Castile, he had a permit to open and carry, but the officer just shot him, shot him in front of his woman and his child. So I get it. We should know the law, but, we know that especially the police, they call them the judge, jury, and executioner, all within a matter of seconds. They can determine if you live or not even knowing if you've done anything wrong.
How many of you guys have seen the movie Dredd or Judge Dredd with Sylvester Stallone and what's that other guy?
I've heard of it, but I've never seen it.
Judge Dredd. That's what that movie's based off of, a cop being judge, jury, and executioner.
And that's what these police officers are. I mean, they're supposed to know the law, right? in the Constitution. Most of the time we see them, you know, running up on black people, not even telling them what they did. You're under arrest. Well, you're supposed to tell me for what? What did I do? Why are you detaining me?
Yeah, most cops in almost every state, every jurisdiction do not know the law. They just know the basics of the stop and frisk, you know, the things that they have to do for against the poor people. But if you would tell them, like, you know, please tell me the statute of your stop and frisk, of what you're stopping and frisking me for. They can't even tell you. You know, the first thing they'll say, shut up, sit down. I gave you a lawful order. They don't know, because they're not educated. And most, especially in the South, most law enforcement people down there, that's Cousin Jed's brother who got on the force because, you know, he knew the right guy. And, you know.
And I mean, it just like in Georgia, Brunswick, Georgia, where Ahmaud Arbery was murdered, they're all connected, you know. And so, of course, you know, they went home and slept that night after they killed this, you know, black man that was jogging. And I want to say this too before I get to you guys' comments. Like, what's wrong with y'all? Not y'all, but these conspiracy theorists. I can't tell you how many a Negro that I've seen try to dissect. Oh, well, you know, in this Candace Owens broad, you know, everybody's trying to get Candace Owens butter biscuits. She's trying to, you know, to break down the case and why he was really burglarizing. He was doing this and he was doing that. And it's like, listen, we don't know all that happened, but I guarantee you anything that he may or may not have done did not warrant him to be murdered. And so I get sick to my stomach. I shouldn't be. But when I see black people trying to do white supremacy's job, you know, it's like I don't think they're going to give no more butter biscuits out. You know, you trying to help white, well, you know, he shouldn't have, well, he shouldn't have went into the house. When plenty of people said, I mean, I've been to a construction site to look at the houses before. It's not unusual for people to do that. But you got all these Negroes who want to be these inch-high private eye detectives trying to do the job of white supremacy.
And notice that they keep throwing these distractions out because the owner of that property said nothing was taken. I didn't make no reports. Notice how nobody's concentrating on the murderer's excuses. It's like, well, you lied about that. So if you lied about one thing, then you obviously went out there intentionally to murder these black people because everything that you said didn't happen.
Right. And like I said, the owner said, I didn't make a report. Nothing was stolen. And so it's like, it wasn't even these two dudes' houses. It was, you know, they saw a black man running through the neighborhood. And I mean, hell, did you guys even see the video of the, I think it was a UPS driver, something was going to deliver a package into this white neighborhood, I guess you could call it. These white men approached him and would not, I guess he had just got through delivering the package. He was trying to leave. They blocked him in with their car for like an hour and wouldn't let him leave because they wanted to know what he was doing there, who gave you the code to the gate and all this other stuff. And he wouldn't budge. He was like, listen, I don't have to answer to you. After an hour, finally they let him go, but he had it all on videotape. And so, you know, these are the things that are going on with us. There's no telling. They could have shot him and probably got away with it, even though he's working.
You know, the funny thing is, you know, as you guys know, I'm constantly doing political stuff because I like, I'm a political junkie. But I put on my page just stuff that, you know, there's some things you put on a page that it doesn't need any response, right? It's obvious this person was murdered. All my white friends, it's like they got a dice thing like, well, we didn't see the whole tape. Well, they said that, you know, and I just look, and I'm looking at my friends, my so-called white friends, and I'm just like, wow, it's come to this.
Well, it's not come. That's just who they always were. Right. They've always been that. Now they're just showing their true colors. But that's how they've always been. I don't think you need to try to justify why two men who had not the ability or the authority to even be approaching this man in that matter would murder him. Like, why make excuses for that? The fact of the matter is they murdered a black man in cold blood and got away with it for 2 months. Got away with it for 2 months.
And might get away with it if they don't move the jurisdiction, because this thing is so overblown now that they're probably going to say, well, they can't get a fair hearing no matter where they go.
And the prosecutor the DA that they've chosen to prosecute,
the third one,
is a Black woman who was a staunch Trump supporter. And if you've seen these pictures of her, all
and loves white men.
Yep, all booed up. All booed up with all these police officers. So to me, you know, I like to say wait and see, but we've seen how that plays out before, right? And Donovan, you said it was the Black people with guns at the, if that was Black people with guns at the Capitol, what do you think would have happened? Well, we know what happened. You know, Black Panthers tried that, and you see California change their whole gun laws. And Corley says, baby, I will never work for anyone else. I can't. I'm with you. I mean, I haven't punched a clock in a minute because I know me. Like the hairs on the back of my head stand up, or my neck rather. Somebody tried to tell me what to do. Gal, I need you to go.
Kizzy, take off my boots, Kizzy.
Like that. And Samuel says, when you look at the anthem of whites and the rockets, red glare, bombs bursting in air, it's an anthem of war, contrasting to our anthem, which is an anthem of peace. Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring.
I agree. But you know what? We got to stop singing and start swinging. I mean, it's just done. There's a time and a place for all that.
Word to Malcolm X.
Yeah, start swinging. Forget the singing. See, but that's what the baby boomers will tell you. Well, you got to be peaceful. You got to protest. It is insane to walk up to a person that has an AR-15 strung on their back and you talking about give me my rights or, you know, let's talk. It ain't going to happen.
Right. And Channy says, what does a Confederate flag and protesting, not writing, that's how we are referred to when we stand up for our rights, but I digress, have to do with the rights to open a state during a pandemic, asking for a friend. So you're basically talking about these white supremacists. Well, you know that to them, we know the Confederate flag represents the old South, where, you know, slavery was hot and popping. You know, there was a time where the South wanted to completely succeed from the rest of the nation because they just didn't agree. They wanted to go do their own things. And so the Confederate flag is supposed to, I guess, be a bat signal to everybody else who thinks like them. And and to a lot of people in the South, especially our parents' generation and beyond, that was a symbol of fear. And so I think it's a little bit of intimidation, and it's just their symbol. We know that the Confederate flag is rooted completely in racism. And so that's the thing that they hold on to. But it has nothing to do with it. Was you going to say something, Donovan? Oh, and Corey says that the young man in Houston last night, I'm not familiar what would happen in Houston last night, but I will do my research. So I can be abreast of what's going on. And Kevin says, and if you don't know the law, then you know there is nothing to say to a cop. The judge should be the first person that hears you, and you should be saying, I do not recognize the authority of this court. You know, go ahead.
I say that all the time. You know, if you get arrested, just shut your mouth and wait till you go to the judge. And there's more legal ramifications to that. But this new generation being raised by women, and I'm not downing women, but in the military, I would see young men and I would tell them, based on my rank, shut the fuck up. Now, when a man tells you shut the fuck up, that's it. It's done. You're supposed to be done, right? I noticed that these young men always got to have the last word like a woman. So I would ask them, was your father raised in your life? No. I said, okay, now I see where this is coming from. So Kevin, I agree with you, but these kids, as hard as they try to be with their little fake ass, I'm a killer tattoo and all that bullshit, sing like a bird. They just don't know to keep their mouths closed.
And I agree with you on that. They should be quiet, but even if they don't, it's not grounds for a police officer to put their hands on them, you know, in an aggressive manner, any of that. I mean, that's just not what they're supposed to do, you know. Case in point is we see white people wilding all the damn time with the police. They talk about their mama and everything else in between, and not their hair on their body gets touched.
Why the fuck did you stop me? Do you know who I am? My mother's gonna have your ass. You know what I mean?
All of that. Exactly.
And the cop is like, okay, well, never mind. Go ahead on. You're about to do this.
Right. If you even look the wrong direction, it's curtains for you, you know? And let's see. And Shelley says, you oh, okay. I mean, I understand all of that, but I mean, we've seen that play out wrong for a lot of people, you know, wanting to state I'm not actually a citizen. And I hear people, not saying this is you, people talking about, oh, you shouldn't get a social security card and your birth certificate it's they own you or all that stuff. I mean, I get all that. What?
No social security card, no stimulus check.
You stupid.
And then Wesley Snipes tried that. Now here's the guy that had money. They took care of him too.
So I mean, I get all of that, but that's just not normally how it works out for Black people trying to invoke all these constitutional, you know, this, that, and the other. So but I understand what you're saying. And as Shelley says, you're right, Donovan. And Demetria says, emotional overload convicting us. Convicting us. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, if you get stopped as a Black person